A quick crypto family and my coin factory family, we're back once again with your Kaspa crypto live stream. I'm going back to daily again. It feels good, honestly. It feels very, very good. Hopefully we can keep this up. As it stands right now, I have no reason to not keep up my daily live streams and bring you the latest, greatest content for crypto and for Kaspa. We've got a lot of very big updates for today. As the title suggests, the tough truth about Kaspa Kasplex smart contracts. Again, it's coming from Shy, and I know a lot of you may have choice words and opinion on Shy, but as we read through it again, these are not questions that are seemingly coming from a place of hate or a place of, pettiness or, not liking of the KF and Johnny. They are logical questions he's asking, and he said he'd ask the exact same questions of Igra Labs. And these are questions that have not been answered, and these are questions that we should be taking into account as smart contracts are coming out, and we don't want them to be a failure. We're going to get into that stuff. Also, some huge legislative framework updates as well to get through in this stream. Ultimately, things are progressing very nicely in the United States, and hopefully we'll see more laws implemented very, very soon to accelerate the cycle for crypto, which right now is very much stagnating. I have personal zones that I'm hoping to see Bitcoin reach before I believe we're going through either a small pullback or a next leg up, which I'll probably talk about in this stream. I'm going to talk about to my VIPs later on as well. But as it stands right now, Kaspa, over the past 2 days, did struggle to surpass that 8.2 cents, which is not as pivotal, but still a level of support and or resistance. As a result, therefore, Kaspa right now is at risk of coming back down to 8 cents and maybe even losing them. We did see it momentarily come down earlier today. Currently it's trading around 8.04 cents, down roughly 0.68% on the daily time frame. I'm personally not worried. I think Kaspa playing and toying with this 8 cents range is not too concerning right now. It's been proven to be a strong level, and for me, as long as Kaspa does not lose the lower level of worst case 6.5 or 6 cents, or more so 7 cents, I still think Kaspa has got enough strength to keep it up. And we can see from certain posts like here from Kaspa Daily, after weeks of unusual or unusually thin liquidity, MEXC has now leveled up. Previously, it often took 3 to 4 times less capital to move prices there compared to other major exchanges, but now the order books are showing more depth, bringing MEXC closer in line with other exchanges, which is very good. MEXC has for the longest time been perceived as the manipulator of Kaspa's price, because normally the price of MEXC would be significantly lower than it would be anywhere else, incentivizing people to buy on MEXC and then maybe sell on another exchange and make a profit, whatever they may be. But right now you can see it's more aligning with the other exchanges, which is very good to see. If you look at Kaspa on CMC right now, you can see again, still not much volume as it stands, but that's again understandable given the current conditions. 45.7 million is up a little bit, but still not very much. 2.14 bill market cap, and we can see again the dominance comes from the likes of Gate, and we can even see MEXC, despite there being no plus or minus in depth right now, not showing up. Again, 12%, BitGet 11.5%, and Bybit at 9.19%. Interesting stuff all around. Hopefully this means that the exchanges are coming together, more aligning together, which, I mean, in the grand scheme of things, exchanges are still very much manipulating the price of Kaspa, but if it's not one exchange, not just MEXC, then at least we don't have one enemy to target at, if you will. But anyways, that is one element of Kaspa we wanted to get into today before we get into the big news. And then equally, this post here, which I think is also just indicative of where Kaspa's at right now and proof that Kaspa is still very much relevant. According to K1 pool here, they're now closing unprofitable pools. So if you are holding BTG, KLS, Neox, Nexa, XNA coins from the pool wallet, you are now required or being advised to withdraw them before the 20th of September, because after this date, nodes of these coins will be stopped, the corresponding pools will be closed, and withdrawals will no longer be possible. Regarding Nexa, removed due to all proof of work hash rate being concentrated onto a single pool and lacking a healthy competition. So in that regard, a lot of proof of works are being shut down in regards to K1 pool here, but not Kaspa, of course. Kaspa right now is number 4. Currently, the last 24 hours in regards to the screenshot here is 300k, losing up to Litecoin at 447k, and then Dogecoin at 3.29 million, and then Bitcoin, of course, at 54.58 million. Kaspa, of course, had a lot higher hash rate than the likes of Doge and Litecoin earlier this year, and even the end of last year, but it has seen a lot of a lackluster hash rate in that regard, considering the price has not really been moving, and people have become very, very frustrated, and of course not profitable most of the time to mine Kaspa, so they're turning off their miners and waiting for the prices to come back, and the adoption, the liquidity, the volume to come back to Kaspa as well. But as Kaspa highlights here, and I do agree, Kaspa proof of work is a tough project to bring to life and keep it sustainable long term. Right now, really only Bitcoin has been able to really do that. There are many things that Kaspa has that are so unique that allow it to get on the map, that will let it survive the long term. Today, Kaspa is in the top 4 of proof of work coins based on how much money they produce daily. In front of that is, of course, Litecoin, Dogecoin, and Bitcoin. But in Kaspa's belief, and also in my belief, Kaspa will re-enter and gain that number 2 spot again in the future. It's just a matter of time. Kaspa, of course, has some very, very big updates. We're talking the smart contracts, the stablecoin adoption that will give so much more in regards to volume, liquidity on chain, therefore emissions for the miners as well. That will also be a very big thing. Stablecoins coming on the back of smart contracts. You'll have native smart contracts also just giving more trust and more legitimacy to Kaspa, and again more volume emissions. And then you also have, Dagnut making it an even more superior protocol, which will also generate more adoption as well. Tier 1 listings, KRI institutional adoption. There's a whole plethora of lists of things that will make Kaspa generate more emissions, and it's already made number 2 before in the past. I'm sure I'll come back again in the very, very near future. We have got some more posts here, also very interesting to get into, which we'll get into in a very short moment. Before we do, welcome back again to the stream, everybody. If you enjoy these streams, this content, as always, feel free to leave a like, helps it more than you know, share with your friends, and subscribe for more. And we've got LB first on the check-in. Welcome back, brother. And yes, you beat Mr. Miles. I'm absolutely loving the Mr. Miles lander right now. And Gregor's mid-comment just got beaten to it. Unlucky, brother. But yes, at least you're truthful and going to admit you were not first. I know Mr. Miles will come in saying first anyways when he does join in. But welcome back again, everybody, to the stream. Hope you had a great weekend and, well, even great week so far. And yeah, don't ban him. Mr. Mars is going to get power hungry, I'm sure. Welcome back to the end. Hope you're doing very, very well. Wing Hong 4th. Are we mooning yet? Not yet, obviously, but hopefully that sentiment's going to be changing. As it stands right now, my stance is shifting more towards after the FOMC meeting, which is after the reports we're going to get through today's stream. It guarantees now at this point we're definitely going to be seeing rate cuts in 8 days' time. After that, I think you'll start seeing re-acceleration in the markets leading into October. That'll be very, very bullish. October, November being very, very big months for crypto historically. Welcome back, Stontoma. Hope you're doing very well, brother. Having a great day so far, I hope. And you too, your GF baby daddy, big cost wallop on time today. Welcome back, my man. Hope you're doing very, very well indeed. Double D on the check-in again. Welcome back. And Buffalo indeed. Welcome back, all of you, the OGs once again back in the chat. And the poll things are going crazy. The citizens are rebelling. The government is overthrown. It's heating up everywhere. I mean, that's the first I've heard of it, truth be told, but I'm not surprised. Everywhere right now, we're seeing pandemonium everywhere in the US, in the United Kingdom, in France, in Nepal. Now you're seeing it literally all over the world. I'm not too well versed about what's happening in Asia. I've not been clued into that, but I know pretty much everywhere across the West right now, you're seeing rebelling, pandemonium, just issues all over the place. And it's not surprising. And this, again, for those who have had the privilege of watching Plan K's video, his Endgame Theory video that, again, we spoke about briefly last stream, he also did clarify this is what happens typically in this typical 4th turning we're in right now. The 4th wave is when you're seeing the kind of collapse of the system and the rebirth of a new one. Now, in history, it's been the rebirth of a new currency becoming the world reserve currency. So in this case, it was the dollar replacing, it might have been the pound sterling. I need to double check that, but either with the dollar came the new world reserve currency, and you then saw the 4th turning turn to the 1st turning, and then building up from there. This time man was seeing an even bigger revamp with crypto now becoming the integral part of the new financial system. But in this 4th turning, you just see issues, pandemonium, riots, wars, everything just kind of go out of control. It's kind of, again, it's also, in my belief, in a sense, partly by design, because for people to accept change, there needs to be a crisis. That's a very well-renowned saying. For people to accept change, you need to see a crisis, and therefore the change to be the solution to the crisis. Because most people like to live a very comfortable, categorized life. You wake up, do your 9 to 5, whatever, and you just live your life as you do, going through day by day. People don't normally like to venture out of their comfort zones. So in that regard, then why do you think People want to change from the dollar to whatever the new. People want to leave fiat to go to crypto. Why do they want to do that? Despite all the benefits of it, they wouldn't want to do that unless they were basically forced to, because there's a crisis with the current economic system, which there is. We'll get to that again in a moment. So, in that regard, then yes, it's crazy what's going on right now. Welcome back, AI level 1000. What do you think about smart? Guessing that means smart contracts. I think smart contracts are great, and I think the smart contracts coming to Kaspa will be very, very big. But I am going to be talking about the tough truth regarding Kasplex's smart contracts, because there have been some tough questions asked which have not been addressed and answered, and maybe it's because Kaspa hasn't got the answers. Again, Kaspa is kind of just the middleman in all of this. I love Kaspa and the work he's done for Kaspa. But Shai made a very, very lengthy response here to Kaspa's post about the commitment of Kasplex, bringing transparency and contributing meaningfully to the Kaspa ecosystem. And we'll get through this post again, looking through it in just a very short moment. But Shai made a very, very detailed response about this, kind of depicting everything that's going on right now. And I don't expect Kaspa to have all the answers, because again, he's kind of just I assume he's just kind of a middleman and at the marketing side for Kasplex. But there's no one on the Kasplex team that has been able to provide an answer to Shai or to anyone. Shai's not the only people asking this question. There are many people who've been asking this question, but Shai has been the most vocal about it, Mr. Miles, and there you are. First, welcome back, bro. You're doing very, very well, man. And welcome back, you two Falco as well. Welcome back to the stream, man. Plan K makes the best videos, 100%. 100%. Plan K's videos are legendary, and they are very, very detailed. That's why I do thoroughly enjoy watching them. Wait, is Jay the same person as Plan K? No. I'm not Plan K. They might go back to gold standard. That'd be better before. Yes, that's also why you have been seeing gold rallying right now, because people are perceived that the current system is collapsing and therefore gold is a safe haven. So they might go back to gold, or be a kind of a gold-backed system. That's what happened with the dollar. Again, if you watch Plan K's Endgame series, you would have seen that when the dollar was first, renowned as the world reserve currency, it was pegged to the gold. It was pegged to gold, but because the baby boomers wanted to basically produce more money, and there was not enough gold to back that, they decided to change that from gold to to oil. So it went from a gold-backed dollar to a oil petrodollar, and that's when things went really, really south after that. It was particularly at that trade deal that screwed things up. So a new currency coming out being backed by gold will be the first step, but will it be one that's backed by crypto or not again, or will it just be Kaspa again? There's so many potentials right now, but we're in this fourth turning, so crisis is expected. It'll hopefully all come out better from it in the end as well. Plan K and Ray Dalio talking about this uprising. Yeah, it's insane. My first time learning about Kaspa was from randomly watching a Plan K video. If there was any place to first hear about Kaspa, I'd say probably one of the best places, truth be told, because his videos are, very, very detailed, very technical, but also he has seemingly a very, very vast understanding and knowledge of, historical data of the financial system and how we got to where we're at right now, and how what's happening, while it's disastrous, is also by design, because that's how the system has inevitably been set up. Because of human greed, and the current system we have has not taken into account of human greed. When people get greedy and they switch from a gold-backed dollar, to oil, petrodollar, the greed gets in, and then you collapse the system. Why would people try to stop collapse? Wouldn't cryptos prolong suffering instead of a full collapse and cleansing? Well, people are always going to try to stop collapse. They're always going to try and stop it, but eventually it'll just kind of be shifting elsewhere. I don't really have a significant answer for you, unfortunately, Wing Hong. Comments you read aren't being displayed. Are they not? Oh, okay. Well, I apologise for that. I thought I had. Well, okay. Well, thank you very much for letting me know. This should hopefully fix that now. Hello? There you go. Okay, there you go. Thank you very much, Mr. Miles. And yeah, apologies for that, but I'm sure I'll go through all the questions either way. There are some who even talk about the revaluation of gold. Yeah, that also may be a thing that happens as well. It's a very unique time we're in right now, to say the least. Now, that being said, though, we've got through a little bit of Kaspa content, got through the content and the questions. We've got some more Kaspa content, of course, the big questions as well. But I want to quickly get into the big macro news, because I think, again, that is what's really important right now. We've got a lot of very big and bullish updates, and then equally some bad ones as well. Starting off good, though. Senator Lummis here. She wants to thank her colleagues across the aisle for their constructive digital asset market structure framework. So we are seeing further developments with the Digital Asset Clarity Act, which is great stuff. Meaningful legislation takes intentional collaboration and discussion. This is a strong start, and I look forward to working together to secure America's financial future. So we are seeing, again, more and more framework stuff being laid out for it, and again, it is starting to accelerate, which is fantastic news, honestly. Very, very big news, because this framework, meant to act as a roadmap to guide what they hope to be a robust, fruitful, bipartisan regulations with Republicans. Is going to ultimately be what creates clearer guidelines between what are securities and commodities, what is run by the SEC and overseen by the SEC and overseen by the CFTC. And it will be a significant step to allow institutions to have greater clarity on what they therefore should and should not invest into. Because they don't, that's not saying they won't invest into quote-unquote securities, but they'll be a bit more hesitant in doing so. But commodities, they'd be more abided to investing into those, which would be great for Kaspa holders as well, because Kaspa is a commodity and therefore could see investments as a result of that title it would receive. We can see in further big news as well, Congress introduces a new bill requiring the Treasury to study establishing a strategic Bitcoin reserve and US digital asset stockpile, including feasibility in assessment and custody framework for federal digital assets. So, we've been hearing about this a few months back, and it seemingly kind of came to a halt, or even went quite quiet, and now Congress are introducing a bill requiring the Treasury to start looking into creating a reserve for Bitcoin, and a stockpile being a basically another reserve, but it comprises of I think the report said it will comprise of XRP, Cardano, Solana, Ethereum, and Bitcoin. Those 5 assets, and it might expand from there on as well. But either way, it looks like the government now and the Treasury are starting to look towards creating a national stockpile, a strategic reserve, which would be, again, more adoption of crypto, and also giving further confidence for retail to hold these assets, again bringing the price a lot higher as well. You can see here 90 days is how long they've been given right now, so that leads us towards the end of the year. So you may end up seeing more developments come the end of the year, which would be huge stuff again. And if they do get positive developments in this regard and the approval of such plans and whatnot, and again, this further leads into the possibility of us seeing an extended cycle, because otherwise then you're seeing all these big developments going towards a bear market. And again, the macro liquidity sentiment also suggests we're going to be getting an extended cycle as well right now. So it's interesting stuff all around. Furthermore, in other news as well, just kind of firing off these massive news and updates right now before we get into the big Kaspa content. Ankit XXIM have reposted this here with NASDAQ. President of NASDAQ announces they have submitted an SEC filing to facilitate trading tokenized securities on the NASDAQ stock market, which has so many implications as well. You see the integration of stock tokenization and blockchain technology alongside TradFi markets and infrastructure presents an extraordinary opportunity for the global financial system. These capabilities have the potential to deliver profound benefits to issuers, investors, and economies globally through reduced frictions, accelerated settlement times, automated processes, and improved efficiencies in capital and collateral management. So it's basically just how the TradFi market works now, except it'd just be a massive level up in the very, very easy to understand sense. It'd just be a big level up from there, seeing a lot more adoption and be a lot quicker, easier, cheaper. It'd be a massive improvement all around. So NASDAQ doing this again is a very big deal. And then even got some other big developments. We've been seeing Ethereum right now. I've been seeing a little bit of a cooling off with institutional adoption, seeing a lot of outflows right now. And it looks like apparently we're seeing a bit of a pivot towards Solana now from institutions, with Solana treasuries being formed and potential ETF finance coming through in the next month or so or two. But not just Solana as well, we can see even here. Dogecoin apparently is also getting some looks into as well. The Dogecoin Foundation's corporate arm, House of Doge, has entered into a strategic partnership with Bitstamp USA Incorporated, which is now operated by Robinhood. So Robinhood, therefore, designating it as an official trading venue and custodian for the official Dogecoin treasury. And you can see Dogecoin ETFs, which will undergo the ticker Doge, is expecting to launch Thursday under the 40 Act. According to Bloomberg Eric Bolchiners, it would be the first US ETF tied to an asset described as having no utility. I think it's quite interesting and obscure to have a meme coin that has no utility behind it as an ETF. You know, it looks like even the TradFi market becoming DS as well, therefore. But despite what semblance it may have, and honestly some consequences it may have as well, we are again seeing finally institutions, TradFi, starting to broaden their horizons, getting like if crypto is a candy store, they got the most popular one in Bitcoin. They liked that. They had the second best one in Ethereum, and now they're like, oh, you know what? These two candies were fantastic. Let's start going a little bit further out and just have a little piece of all the store now. So now looking at Solana, looking at Dogecoin, XRP offshore will be on their radar as well. Sui's been on their radar for a bit now. Say is getting some attention now as well. Tao's been getting a little bit of attention. Cardano, Polkadot, HBAR, Trump's coin. Kaspa is not on their radar as of right now. That could change in the future. It could change, but Kaspa's very early doors right now. But either way, this is reassuring and will give further investments into the altcoin market, which would inherently help Kaspa's price as well. So all around very good. And then we got into the macro news here, which is ultimately why I believe, and evidently why I'm strongly convicted that we will definitely be getting rate cuts now, because the US labour market has just revised 911,000 less jobs out of the data reported in the 12 months ending March 2025. So that means the whole time they were reporting job report, it was actually almost 1 million jobs less. So it was far weaker than initially reported. I'm not sure how they're getting this stuff wrong all the time, whether they're lying about it intentionally or whatnot. But it's ridiculously how many less jobs were actually, created. And with that in mind, we're going to end up seeing a lot more, significant backlash, and at the same time, also people being worried about the fact that, maybe we are too late. We are definitely in some form of recession of sorts. That's the worry going on by investors right now. BlackRock CIO saying the Federal Reserve should cut interest rates by 50 basis points next week. Right now, CME Watch still is in just saying more so 25. Only got an 8% chance of a 50 basis point rate cut, but with almost 1 million jobs less, and Jerome Powell shifting his stance towards focusing on jobs now, 50 could be on the cards, more so than we think. And that would cause a significant rally. We've still got some big updates coming this week regarding the inflation reports that will also determine how much the Fed is going to cut rates. If inflation is under control after seeing this 1 million jobs revised, if inflation is under control, then they could cut 50. If inflation is a bit out of control, they probably won't. But as a result, with all these legislative frameworks coming out, treasuries now being formed, and again, those who saw my post and equally follow these streams and seen that Signum Bank report that I've leaked here and there, my alpha research, you would have seen that their big reason for saying an extended cycle is possible is treasury stuff, which again, 90 days, is regulatory frameworks, again, in the process of happening right now as well, amongst ETF filings and everything else as well. So again, all the information that was highlighted in that alpha research document is all coming to fruition right now. We're seeing rate cuts going into a re-accelerating economy in regards to business developments and whatnot, and then we're seeing all the regulatory frameworks and treasuries that are now being further pushed forward and decided upon in the coming weeks and months ahead as well, which is fantastic stuff. And again, we'll see a lot more investments in this market, even seeing other parts of the world. Of course, US is the main sector, but Vietnam are now approving a 5-year trial program for crypto trading platforms. Fantastic news. And then the last fundamental update before we get into Kaspa content, which for me I think is a little bit negative or a bit worrying, is in regards to this from Eleanor Terrett. In a recent speech, acting CFTC chair Caroline Pham said the agency is exploring whether foreign crypto trading platforms that follow robust crypto-specific rules, such as the EU's MiCA framework, could be recognized under US cross-border regulations. Now, I am not entirely sure if that means they're going to try and see if they can adopt a similar sort of regime to MiCA. If they are, that could be a concern, because MiCA is way too rigid and way too restrictive. But if they're just saying they can accept it in the US cross-border regulation, that wouldn't be too bad. That could be quite big or anything. It follows the agency's recent reaffirmation of its long-standing framework for foreign borders boards of trade, which allows certain non-US crypto exchanges that are already regulated by a foreign authority to provide direct access into US traders by registering with the CFTC as FBOTs rather than their designated contract marker. So it looks like more so as the latter, that it doesn't mean the US is going to adopt a MiCA framework. It's actually good news. It means that the United States, therefore, provided that frameworks or crypto trading platforms that adhere to like MiCA, for example, in EU, if they sign up to CFTC, they can also therefore offer their services in the United States as well, which again would bring more investment into the United States and be better for crypto, because US is the biggest market for crypto as well, which is again surprising considering that US has been very rigid on crypto for a while, but it is still the case of the matter. And yeah, so all around, regarding developments of crypto, despite the markets again not doing great today, Bitcoin down almost 1%, Ethereum down 0.41%, Kaspa down 0.8%, markets not really moving much today, but also not looking too green today. We have seen numerous announcements coming today regarding positive legislative frameworks and acceleration for treasuries, for the Clarity Act, from other departments as well. Confirmation now of how bad the job market is, therefore rate cuts inevitable, as it seems, and even ETF filings expanding from just Ethereum and Bitcoin into Dogecoin, and also if you've been paying attention, you would hear from Solana as well. So this is fantastic stuff, honestly, and I'm excited about it. I am, because it's been a long time, us being waiting in the cycle, expecting the end to be coming any second now, and we don't know when it's going to come just yet, but I do believe that Q4, as we're now on the 9th of September, so we're going towards Q4 now. Q4 is going to be very bullish. I'd like to believe that next week, after the FOMC meeting, when we get rate cuts, will be the start of some bullish momentum leading into October. That'll be very, very big. And hopefully that'll be the time that Kaspa ends up launching their catalyst announcements as well. That'll also generate a lot more FOMO and investment into the project as well. An extended cycle is not confirmed, but it's looking increasingly likely now with the developments happening in such a timely fashion, when the market and the economy is starting to grow again from the looks of things. Job market not so much, inflation again still unsure, but the ISM and the PMI, which are forward-looking indicators, suggest that businesses right now are looking towards increasing their production and investments. So we're now going towards a re-accelerating economy, and rate cuts, things are looking up therefore. And even the M2 money supply at all-time highs right now. Fantastic once more. So we have more of this capital, therefore, that can come into crypto in due time. It's just a matter of time. So don't be emotional, be logical, and just keep researching, keep learning more. And with that being said, what does that mean for Kaspa, of course? Kaspa's got big announcements coming in Q4. KRI are launching their ZTEX, Gigawatt, and Warp Core. You'll see IGRA Labs also launching their mainnet. Ideally, it's meant to be coming out in Q4. As it stands, I'm assuming it's going to be end of Q4 right now, because they're still very much in the testnet phase. So I'd like to, again, if it's all streamlined and perfect and good, they'll release it earlier if they can. But right now, I think it's going to be a case of they'll release it when they're really, really confident. It should probably be end of Q4 at this rate. We'll have to wait and see. But you've got Q4 for IGRA smart contracts as well. KRI and their stuff. You will likely by that point see smart contracts for Kasplex as well. We don't know when the date is. We have heard a post here from Capital saying that, wrapping everything is working as expected, should be soon enough. No specific date yet. So we don't know when the dates for this smart contract for Kasplex are coming either, which is fine. I'm not too much concerned by that, in all honesty. I prefer just make sure that all the Kasplex, I don't really need a date for it. I'm confident it's going to come in the next month or two at the very worst case, and we'll get smart contracts for IGRA and Kasplex this year before the end of the cycle, whenever that will be. So I'm not so much worried about that. I just don't want this smart contract platform to come out and it should be a disaster, which unfortunately right now, there are questions that are being raised, yes, by Shy, but regardless, whether you like or hate the man, these are questions that we should be asking anyways. If it wasn't Shy asking this and anybody else, people would be listening. That's what I believe right now. I think if it was anybody else asking these questions, people would be like, oh, that's a valid question. Because it's Shy, it just stamped a negative perception on it. And don't get me wrong, Shy is asking tough questions but not offering any solutions, which is part of the problem why people aren't listening either, because he's not being helpful in that sense. He's just kind of putting Kasplex down. We'll get through this in a moment, but these are questions that I think is worth taking into account, and does give a tough kind of cloud of doubt around Kasplex right now. So Capital highlighted here in response to the post here, Kasplex is committed to transparency and to contributing meaningfully to the Kaspa ecosystem. Building a layer 2 on Kaspa is not as simple as forking an existing solution. It required a deep dive into Kaspa's unique functionalities and a substantial amount of work, expertise, and dedication from our team. Again, remember, Kaspa is not a builder. He's not a dev. He was onboarded by the Kasplex team seemingly for the marketing side of things. At least that's my perception of it. But he will know stuff about it, but the actual intricate stuff about it, I'm not entirely sure. He says here though, for that reason, immediately open sourcing the entire codebase is not the direction we're taking. And just for reference, that's not a problem for me. They should make it public, open source, but not doing it immediately is not a problem. Doing it inevitably is fine, but it should be open source as they're going mainnet. If it's not open source by the time they have the mainnet out, that for me would be a problem. We fully understand the community's desire for open source and we share that vision. Our approach, however, is to open source gradually, releasing components step by step, see RPC repo, in that way that supports ecosystem growth while also safeguarding the work that has gone into Kasplex. There's no fixed timeline for this, and this is intentional as we believe it's important to move at a pace that ensures security, stability, and sustainability. We recognize that this approach may not satisfy everyone and that some users may prefer a different model, but still, we see it as the right balance between openness, protection of innovation, and long-term benefits for the ecosystem. As for documentation, I acknowledge that, but the initial version was released a while back on Gitbook, and it will be improved considerably. However, the focus was on fitting all the puzzle pieces together. Not a bad response, but then Shai just come out, and again, you may not like Shai, but these are questions that we should be asking. Kasplex is committed to transparency and to contributing meaningfully to the Kaspa ecosystem. I'm very glad to hear this. If that's the case then, I'm sure that you and the Kasplex team will jump at the opportunity to answer some crucial questions and to prove your commitment. What is going to be the configuration of a full ZK EVM node? Is it just an archival node or something more sophisticated? What data will it need to sync? How fast is it going to grow? Or how fast does it grow? Is this data verifiable against regular pruned Kaspa nodes, or do you have to trust other entities, a third party? If so, what entities are they? Is the list permissioned or permissionless? With a full node, will a full node have to download and execute the entire layer 2 running stack? This is literally if you're not too so aware, it's basically a question about how does the Kasplex layer 2 align with how Kasplex runs. Or not Kaspa runs even. Because Kaspa is permissionless. Kaspa has the pruned nodes, so it hasn't got archival nodes therefore. And that also helps with scalability. You know, it's also open source as well. And you haven't got to download and execute the entire layer 1 of Kaspa to, run the node. So the question is Kasplex layer 2 functioning in a very similar manner to Kaspa, or is it different? How are you going to fund provers without a native token? Creating proofs is expensive and often requires designated hardware. Are there any incentives planned other than altruism? We understand you don't need a token for raising development funds because you spoofed by your corporate patrons, so again being the KEF. KEF have funds, so you don't need to launch it for that regard, but what about all the other stuff that needs funding? So the question there being, Kasplex of course, IGRA Labs, they've launched their IGRA token, or they're launching it when the mainnet comes out. Kasplex are not launching a token for the looks of things. So, but without having a native token, it's an expensive ordeal to, and requires, certain hardware to be able to, fund the proofers. So how are they going to go about this besides the KF just giving them money, and then the other stuff as well that also will need funding? The KF may not be able to do that. So again, just a very valid and logical question to ask. How are you going to sort out the money side of things if you haven't got a native token? Because if you don't, then are you just losing money by doing that, therefore? It seems that during the testnet, the Kasplex ZK EVM network was a modified version of an existing full EVM solution. He's guessing here is ZK Sync era. However, the audit report indicates that your code base is in Golang. Kaspa now is on Rusty Kaspa, not Golang anymore. Does that mean you rewrote the code base? If so, isn't all of the testing done during the testnet rendered completely useless? It's again a very valid question. Because Kaspa doesn't run on Golang anymore, it's on Rusty Kaspa. Can you justify the choice of using Golang? I'm guessing you forked GETH and didn't implement your own EVM EVM engine from scratch? How does choosing an engine that is subpar performance, especially in ZK settings, aligned with the high performance narrative you present? Again, another valid question. Why would you use Golang? You've got Rusty. It's much better. It's better in every way, so why would you use Golang therefore? GETH is okay for EL and Ethereum processing rates, but we already know that it's a huge performance bottleneck in high throughputs. And in Kaspa, one of the main stain points that needed high optimization and motivated Rusty Kaspa was the disk I/O. How do you plan on implementing a service that potentially requires much more disk I/O using GETH or the Golang? The only reason I can think of using Go is that it was easier. Again, a question that has not been answered so far by Capital or anybody in the Kasplex team. And again, from what I have heard, is not just Shai asking these, but he's the one who's been the most vocal about it now. Number 5 here, as long as we are pontificating on it, GETH is okay for ZK EVM transactions, but once Kaspa has ZK opcodes, that'll be sometime next year, you would have to use a substantial prover. And Golang can't offer that internally, so this means you'll be forced to use external proving tools. That would go against Kaspa centralization, therefore. Shai was saying that builders are worried about this current layer 2 damaging the security and decentralization of Kaspa. And this again is exactly kind of going into more detail about why that would happen. Because they're using Golang, if once Kaspa has ZK opcodes, how you'll be forced effectively to use external proving tools. So how's it going to work? Your audit only has Golang code. Doesn't mean that part is not implemented yet, and you'll have to introduce new components with ZK opcodes, which I believe is the case. I think they have mentioned that, but I'm not entirely sure. Doesn't it mean that you would need a new audit after implementing anything that uses on-chain ZK, such as state, transitions, proofs, bridging, and snapshotting? And even goes into here about the gradual. While this is one part I think is also be a big of a reassuring thing. Shai is saying, I admire the gradual approach and understand why code should be released gradually. However, does that sit with rushing to launch? He said it already. He hasn't got a problem with Kasplex or the team gradually releasing the code. The problem is you cannot gradually release it and then say your mainnet launch is coming out imminently and you haven't released the whole code yet. It should be ideally released more or less completely by the time the mainnet's coming out. But why is this still not fully released yet or done so gradually when the mainnet is seemingly any day now? No date yet, but everything seems to be going according to plan. The only piece of code you've open source is a generic relayer, a very small and boilerplate piece of code that any half-competent developer could have put together in the afternoon or two. It provides zero insight into your architecture. And again, this is from Shai words here. Is it the best you can do in 2 days from now, not the now postponed launch? And do you understand why it feels like you're just throwing sand in our eyes? And then the biggest question here, how comes most of these questions have been asked by so many times, by so many people, but have never been answered? How does this sit with your commitment to transparency? And then it finishes off here saying, I'm hoping some explanation will come soon. All this stuff here. And then, spoiler alert, as a little dig from Shai, as we always see. The responses are going to be ranging from ignoring Shai completely, changing the subject to about what IGRA's doing, which is not really a fair comparison because IGRA is very early on compared to Kasplex in that regard. They'll be complaining about Shai's tone, as people always do because they don't like Shai. Arguing about his past sour personal experience with KEF, which we do acknowledge. We do acknowledge that. But the question he's asking is not seemingly one, or if it's coming from a sour place, there's still logical questions being asked. And therefore somehow making these questions less relevant. That's not true. Whether Shai is bad blob of KEF or not, and Johnny or not, they do not make these questions less relevant. If anything, they make them just as relevant. Well, they make it just as relevant. I want to say more so, but just as relevant. But he has a bigger voice because of what's happened. And, I don't expect any answers, should be told. It'd be good if we got some. And then we even got a little update here from Moses for Pavel, again, one of the co-founders of IGRA Labs here, who said, in Shai's first kind of post about that a few days back, he quotes here saying, if IGRA Labs try to pull something off what Kasplex is doing as well, I'd be on their throat as well. I personally wouldn't expect anything less. And that's not here IGRA Labs trying to come at Kasplex either. It's just him simply acknowledging that Shai, who was again part of DAG Labs, therefore would have known many of these members who are part of IGRA as well, mainly, Dennis and Mike. But, Shai is not a coder, he's not a developer, but he's a researcher and he's been part of Kaspa from the very beginning. That's why we had perceived him as Kaspa Core. He's removed that title from himself, and people have also removed that title from him, but he was part of Kaspa's core as a researcher. He knows a lot more about crypto than most of us probably ever will. And he's asking tough questions here and he's trying to do his best to answer tough questions by trying to say, don't get me wrong, I get people understand that I have bad blood with KEF, and therefore you're going to think that I'm just trying to cause trouble. But what I'm saying here, I'd ask the same questions of IGRA if they were doing the same thing, but they're not doing the same thing. And Pavel's saying here, again, as expected of a man like Shai, you should be asking tough questions. And if you go into the comments here as well, Kasplex, no one should be upset about this post. Great questions asked, and they should be answered. That's the truth of the matter. You may not like Shai, but again, remove Shai as the person asking these questions. These are great questions asked by an individual who's intellectual that should be answered. The tough truth about Kasplex smart contracts right now, from my perception right now, is they're not ready. They are not ready. That's my perception right now. I don't know when they're going to be launched. I would hope soon. But at the same time, I would prefer them not to be launched for another few months and these issues to be solved and therefore not to become an issue later on than for them to be launched, in the next week or so and then end up causing problems down the line because these tough questions and these potential issues, these bottlenecks, haven't been addressed. Not having lack of funds. Having to switch pretty much their whole code base when ZK opcodes come out in the next year or so. They'll have time for that, but either way, it's going to be another audit having to take place as well. More money, therefore. The fact they're using Golang, apparently with their testnet, not the rusty Kaspa. There's so many significant questions being asked here. And I'll be honest, some of this stuff will go over my head, but a lot of it, I understand that my general understanding of what's being said here from Shai is that you want to be transparent and you want to help the community. That's perfectly fine. I respect your commitment to that, but you got to answer these questions, because right now my perception of what I'm just trying to say to the Kaspa community to give them a warning is, you're saying this, but your actions speak differently. And from my perception, Shai's words are obviously a lot more direct. Let's just say direct. But it sounds like he's trying to say, I don't trust Kasplex, and he is kind of saying that. But I want to perceive it as him saying, Kasplex aren't ready. That's what I'm saying, at least. From what I'm reading, and from what people in the community are also saying, and it's not just Shai saying this, Kaspa Silver effectively saying the same thing here by agreeing to this, and people respect Kaspa Silver. Of course, there are some people who don't agree with what's being said here. And again, you're entitled to your own belief. But, again, if you remove the whole negative history between Shai and the KEF and therefore Kasplex, and it was just, if it was some political answer these questions, what would you say? If there was some political marks on answering these questions, would you also come at them as well? No, you wouldn't do. The person who asked the question should not be the problem here. The questions being asked are very intellectual and tough questions that should be answered for us. And if they're not being answered, and they seem to be, lingering issues that the builders are very aware of, my perception, my tough truth about Kasplex smart contracts right now is, I don't believe they are ready. And I think if they come out and these have not been squashed and not been, fixed, I think there could be issues down the line. And that's my worry. Because the last thing I want is a repeat of KRC20. The last thing I want. Because I think for me, if I'm being perfectly honest, if a Kasplex smart contract came out and it was similarly terrible, I would lose all faith in them. I would. And unfortunately, that would then paint everybody who's associated with them very negatively as well. And I don't want to perceive the KEF or Kaspa or anybody like that negatively, because I think they all do great work for Kaspa. But the problem is, if Kasplex's smart contracts come out very, very badly, me as a investor and someone who has a great passion for Kaspa, and again, there have been already 2 strikes in a sense with Kasplex, with KRC20. The first launch was terrible. Second launch still had issues. It was better, and it's been successful, and I do like KRC20, but it's been issues. If the smart contracts are terrible as well, that would be my 3rd strike for me, and I would not have any confidence anymore. And I had to wait for IGRA. I don't want to bring any negative light on Kasplex, because I'm not trying to say that I don't like Kasplex at all. I want them to do well. I just don't think they're ready. From what I've seen right now, from the questions being asked, from the fact that we're not getting any answers, the fact that there are other people who are also very well respected, like Kaspa Silver here, who's also supportive of this sort of stuff, these are tough questions that should be answered. and they're not being answered. And unfortunately, there's some people who just are kind of following along and just saying, thank you, Kaspa, for doing the work you're doing. And what they're doing is great, but they're not truly adhering to what the people want and need from the looks of things. And I'm hoping they'll fix these issues. I'm hoping they'll address these issues. But until they do, I think any launch of a smart contract would be too early, to put it bluntly. I think it'd be too early. Now, I'm going to read the comments and then I'll talk more about it in a second. But that's my perception of it right now, that I think Kasplex smart contracts may be too early. We had a testnet for 3 months for Kasplex so far. 3 months. But apparently also on Golang, not even on Rusty. Which again, the question being asked by Shai there, if it's all there, doesn't it mean all the testing used on the testnet is rendered completely useless? Because you're doing it on Golang and not on Rusty. It's a fair question. That's a very fair question. That's a very, very fair question in that regard. And why have they done it on Golang as well? What's their choice for doing it? Is it because it's easier? What's the choice for it? So I'm hoping we get answers. I'm hoping they either address these issues, fix these issues or stuff before the end, before they launch it. Otherwise, then, I mean, again, when maybe they launch it and there are no issues, or if no issues in the initial stage, maybe it becomes an issue later on. Again, I don't know. But when the Kasplex smart contracts come out, I will be observing. Right now, I will be observing, and if everything goes smoothly and looks good, then I'll be more than happy to get involved and test out, what the future of crypto could look like. Smart contract protocol on a truly decentralized, proof of work, scalable and cheap protocol of Kaspa. I'd love to do that. I cannot wait for smart contract and for an actual ecosystem to be built on Kaspa. I want it to be done correctly though. As we should all want that to be done correctly. So let me get to the questions right now, because I'm sure I've missed quite a few now. I felt fun to Kaspa for helping. No, no, definitely not. Was listening to your channel last night. Was about 20 minutes in when you mentioned Nacho Tangent wallets. At that point, I realized the stream was a month old. Wow, yeah. Typically speaking, you can just always go on to my channel here and click the live, and you'll see the most recent one come up. Because sometimes the homepage doesn't always show the most recent one. But I mean, at least you enjoyed the old. It's a good trip down memory lane there for to see what's happened with Kaspa in the past month or so. Winter is coming and Joe doesn't heat the basement. Yeah, sure, Mr. Mars. I do hope Kasplex will do the right thing this time. Waiting is given already, therefore it's crucial for Kaspa to do the right. Oh yeah, I agree, Edwardson. I think Kasplex waiting now is good. I think here's the tunnel right now for Kasplex, right? We are seemingly told by Kaspador the mainnet will be coming out before the end of Q2, being before the end of June. The testnet came out on the 30th of May, I believe, for Kasplex. We didn't get that. But now, we're past 3 months, going 4 months into the testnet right now. And then we were also told that we'll get the mainnet launch on the 31st of August. So we were told end of Q2, didn't happen. 31st of August didn't happen. So that's 2 occasions now that the deadline has been pushed back, which is frustrating. And now they're not giving us a deadline, which for me, I prefer. I'm not getting given a deadline. It's fine by me. I'd like to be given a rough deadline. Seemingly right now we've been told soon, and also been told this month, but we don't actually have a date just yet. But also then in saying that, while we now have been given some form of rough timeline sometime this month, we like to believe before the end of Q3. Therefore, we have these questions being asked by Shai, good questions that also do put. I wouldn't say put a red flag. I don't want to say red flag, but they put a cloud of doubt over Kasplex right now. Because what they are building, from the looks of things, is very much going to hinder decentralization of Kaspa and security potentially as well. Again, if you look back at here, when it talks about the funding here, the funding element here, that could very much affect decentralization. When it talks about was it this part here? There's another part we read about just a second ago, which also the gradual launch, stuff like that. And but basically, what the questions that are being asked would definitely affect decentralization and could affect security as well. This stuff here, having to redo an audit, this sort of stuff, completely new ZK opcode, stuff like that. This could end up having, again, it could be fine in the short term, but it could have long-term negative consequences. 75% stablecoins will run on Kaspa. That will make it war resistant. Swamp is connected to the deep state. I mean, I don't know about so much for the last one, but yeah, I mean, I do believe that Kaspa will become the central hub in the future for just stablecoins and crypto in general because of what it is, if things are done correctly. You think the bull run will last until January, February? Good question, Ben. We have no confirmation, of course. We have no confirmation. I think we'll see a lot of volatility in October, November this year, and then have to see what happens in that part from going December, January. There are increasing sources and indicators and what that suggest we could end up seeing an extended cycle into 2026, therefore January, February maybe, but we'll have to play it by ear, wait and see. Of course, I'll be letting my community of you lot know, and also my VIPs know ahead of time about what's happening. And, you know, therefore I'll take proper strategies as well. No way it's blowing over. In October, maybe a 30 cents Kaspa for the listing and smart contracts. Yeah, I don't think the cycle will be over in October, no. October's only a month away. It's not going to, we still have got at least a good 2 months, if not 3 months, if not more, in the cycle for me. And the rate cuts coming will be a big factor for that as well. If 50, we pump so quick but dump so hard. I don't know. If we get a 50 basis point rate cut, you would probably see, if you see the confirmation of that or the strong expectation of that, you'll see a bit of a pullback beforehand, and then you see a big pump on the back of that. And because we're now going into a re-accelerating economy, you know, with inflation still being manageable right now, 2% inflation according to Trueflation, with jobs again really bad right now, and therefore would incentivize more jobs to be created, more money in the economy. And with the ISM PMI also starting to accelerate again, I don't think you see a dump of anything. We need to see Bitcoin surpass 117k in my belief for us to get a confirmed signal to the upside again. Otherwise, if we don't, maybe see 104k Bitcoin again, who knows. I mean, we get no rate cuts, that would be a disaster. If we get no rate cuts, we'll see a recession. The chances of rate cuts, the chances of not getting rate cuts at this point is little. I mean, according to CME, it's definitely happening. But from the fact that we have now just seen almost 1 million jobs revised for the last year, so we've seen 1 million less jobs, it's inevitable that we're going to be getting rate cuts at this point. It's inevitable. So if we don't get them, you know, it would be a disaster completely. Funny how the job support from a year ago got revised down a month after the head of Labour and Statistics was fired last week because jobs numbers were bad. Oh yeah, it's very weird. I do think there's some manipulation going on right there, definitely. Citizens will trade their native currency for US stablecoins that's backed by bonds, ETH, Solana, Kaspa. Yeah, it'll be Kaspa definitely. It won't be ETH, Solana, it'll be Kaspa in the future. Welcome back, Court of Caller Bro, you're doing very well. And yes, get those likes. 32 likes on it. If we can get 50 likes this stream, that'd be absolutely insane. So by all means, please enjoy the stream, leave a like, share with your friends, and subscribe for more. Welcome back, Antonio Bro, you're doing very well. How does Base get funding without its own token? I assume if Eve can do it, Kaspa can do it too. I'm assuming they have the VC backing, and it'd be the same way how it'd be like. It's a good question actually, and I will, you know, I'll see if I can find an answer for you. I haven't got an answer on hand right now. There's someone else does in the community. But I'd like to believe it would be a similar case to like you have like a VC or company that kind of backs it. If I mean, I can do a quick search and have a look. But I mean, you know, it's gonna probably be. I don't think it'd be easy to find an answer, so I'll try and see if I can find one off stream and put it in the free Discord server. But I'd imagine I'd like to believe it's kind of a case of like again a entity that's kind of funding the process. So in that regard, therefore, it'd be like KF funding Kasplex. Are we cooked? No, we're not cooked. We're not cooked. We're not cooked. I just think, we're too ego smart conscious that we're probably overlooking some potential security risks. That's what I'm thinking. I don't think Kasplex is obligated to answer all those questions from Shy. Some questions suggest how things should be done. The community is limited authority to how Kasplex should implement. Oh yeah, they're not. No, Kasplex are not obligated to answer any questions. Truth be told, now there's some questions here. You know, in regards to the funding element, you know, if they haven't got an issue of funding, and therefore there would not be a potential of a rug pull, they don't need to answer how they're going to fund it. If they can get the funding, how are they going to get the funding without native token? And then therefore they won't rug us, They haven't got to answer that question. Them running on the Golang, they haven't got to necessarily answer that question either. You know, of course, on Rusty and Golang, they haven't got to answer that. But there are certain questions that, you know, some of these here, I'd say that probably are justifiable to give some form of clarification on. You know, is it permission or permissionless? Is it data verifiable against regular Prune Kaspa nodes? Do you have to download the full and execute the entire layer 2 running stack? I think they're just, again, Kasplex are their own team, their own, you know, entity, third-party building. They are not obligated to answer any questions. But there's also nothing wrong with asking the questions. And I think that's the problem that people have right now, because of course Shai's got negativity around KEF, around Johnny, around Kasplex. People get upset with him asking the questions. And that's fine, but you know, you can't get upset with him asking the questions and Kasplex also of not answering them. I mean, it kind of goes both ways. I just think that, I don't think they need to answer all of them, I agree with Tony, but I do think that some of them would be good for clarification right now. Donald said he liked a strong dollar, but you can't make a lot more money with a weak dollar. Pretty much, yeah. The strength of the dollar weakened, the competitiveness of America's exports and harmed manufacturing and employment in the United States. I mean, yeah, the de-dollarization has been a big hindrance for the American economy as well. That's also why they're trying to push out stablecoins right now, because stablecoins are predominantly backed by US dollar-backed stablecoins. So if stablecoins become the kind of new form of currency, that bring dollar dominance back to the forefront again. And yeah, the bigger the rate cut, the weaker the dollar. Yes, the rate cuts will weaken the dollar definitely, but that's also why they've got stablecoins out now as well. I'm hoping they won't rug us. I'm hoping they won't. Again, I just don't want that to be an issue. That's why I'm going to observe at the beginning to see what happens. Welcome back, Lopez. How are you doing? Very, very well, my man. Where are my other questions right now? But with this well, who can 800 million Kaspa in 24 hours, things are moving behind the scenes. Oh, yeah, things are definitely moving behind the scenes right now. It's very interesting. Very interesting indeed. A lot of us DJs are waiting for Kaspa.com. I mean, yeah, a lot of us are waiting for Kaspa.com to do something. I think Kaspa.com will be a good DEX. I want to see Kasplex, I want to see IGRA, I want to see all the stuff coming out for Kaspa, but I want it to be done correctly. You know? I want it to be done correctly. That's my concern, you know? My concern is that things will come out and they won't be... I mean, of course, think about Kaspa. When Kaspa first came out, there were issues as well. So there's nothing wrong with having issues, as long as they can be solved, but how many times are you going to make the mistakes? You know? Is Rust not Rusty? It's just a nickname. I know it's Rust, but its nickname's Rusty. Even the devs were calling it Rusty. It's just a nickname. How are you guys storing your Kaspa? I've got a Tangent or have it in Casware. Yeah, they also call it Rusty as well. Yeah, Rusty either's fine. Rusty's just a nickname for it. That's all. But yeah, it's just interesting to see. And I do think that it's just. I just want again, if I'm honest, the questions being asked by Shai here, if they answered all or some or none of them, I would like some to be answered, to be told, but I ultimately just want the smart contracts to be done successfully and done well. And therefore be trust in the community. That's my concern right now. Nobody watches his FUD channel. I'm a FUD channel. Luckily, nobody watches. I'm not a FUD channel. Am I a FUD channel? I think, if anything, I'm a FOMO channel. I think I bring too much positivity to the community as opposed to harsh reality. This is probably one of the first times in a long time I've done some harsh reality checks for the Kaspa community. Also, I thought you were talking about the programming language. No, not programming language. I'm not I'm simply bringing news. I'm bringing articles based on. I'm not an expert in coding at all. I haven't got a computer science degree at all. You know, I'm simply reading off. I'm literally reading what Shai's saying here, and Shai has a PhD in quantum cryptography. I'm simply reading what he's saying here.
So I'm not trying to talk like nothing. I accept that a lot of this stuff being said will go over my head because I'm not a coder. But I'm just trying to bring some understanding. There's nothing wrong with questions being asked. There's nothing wrong with that at all. If you're going to blindly trust something, then actually you're the one at risk. You should be asking questions to make sure that you're safe with your investments and what you're doing. Maybe. I mean, typically speaking, recessions are never actually normally recessions are never confirmed until you're already in one. That's like historically what's been proven. Like all the previous recessions that happened, they were like 9 or whatever 10 months deep before they're like, oh yeah, no, we've been in a recession for a while now. And with there being now 1 million jobs like revised less, you know, you could arguably be in one already, just not been realised yet. We won't get a 50% rate cut, 25 at the most. People are buying gold because they think the dollar's weakening. Yeah, I mean, the sentiment still says 25 right now, so I agree. But inflation reports will also give us some understanding of the situation as well. And I get you don't like shy KS, I really, really do. But the questions being asked here, I don't think are questions that are coming out of a place of jealousy and hate. They're questions being asked to someone who was a core researcher for Kaspa and has a very deep understanding of crypto and proof of works. And yes, he might have some jealousy and hate for Kasplex, but he's also not the only person asking these questions. Do you have a problem with Kaspa Silver, who's agreeing with his post? Because if you do, then that's up for you. But most people, I like to believe, have complete belief and faith and trust in Kaspa Silver and is a big part of Kaspa community. So do you also disagree with Kaspa Silver, therefore, who agrees with Shy here? You may not like Shy, but again, that's what I'm saying. Remove the man in question, move Shy, and look at this from a concerned member of the community, and these questions would end up seeming a lot more, you know, poignant, if you will. That's all I'm trying to say. The problem is it's Shy asking, people don't like Shy. And Shy does have a history of making problems. I don't disagree with that. And I've also been the one saying that. Shy may be saying this because he has an issue with Kasplex and KEF and whatnot. But the questions he's asking, he's not the only one asking them. Evidently, he's not the only one asking them. So they are fair questions to ask. Nothing wrong with asking questions. It's how we keep safe. No. I'm not a FUD channel. You've been watching me for a while, KS, as well. You've seen so many... Look at all my previous streams and videos. I'm far from a FUD channel. I understand you don't like me talking bad on Kasplex and smart contracts. I can get that. But I wouldn't say I'm a FUD channel at all. You know? Pretty much all my posts in the past have been, you know, good stuff. And even then, beforehand, in this stream, I was talking about all these massive legislative framework developments as well. So that's not FUD at all. I'm bringing some questions regarding Kasplex smart contracts. That's all it is. If you don't like it, I'm sorry. But I don't think there's anything wrong with asking questions. I think, if anything, asking questions will make us safe and stronger. Don't be emotional. Be logical. Think logically about this. I'm not trying to FUD Kasplex. I'm trying to get to the bottom of what's happening right now. And I don't have the technical expertise to do so. That's all it is. And there's another, yeah, the Mr. Miles Smurf account. All I know, never put all your eggs in one basket. Exactly. That's all I'm trying to say. I never put all my eggs in one basket. I've got predominantly all in Kaspa, most of my holdings, but I haven't got everything in Kaspa. That might change in the future if it gets, you know, more widely adopted. But right now, I hold some Kaspa, I hold some of the memes, and I hold some other crypto assets as well. I just want Kasplex to do well. That's all I'm concerned about. Could crypto be positive or be okay? I'm sure it will be. Yeah, sure. Yeah, that's also what I was thinking as well. I mean, I've seen him talk quite a few times in this stream, so maybe it's just, I don't know. But I've typically very rarely FUD. I've been praising Kasplex for a while, talking about what's coming and how excited I am. But now, them delaying it twice, which delays are fine as well. But them announcing that actual deadline twice and delaying that twice, it's a bit frustrating. And then also these questions being asked by Shy and other members of the community like Kaspa Silver, and they're not being answered, is also concerning. I'm not trying to FUD Kasplex, I'm trying to bring awareness of what's happening and just let you know, watching, just to be cautious. don't. And I'm trying to think who it was from. It was from Dr. on Hyperwork as well, who made a post about it. But regardless of what it is, don't blindly trust anything. If you blindly trust something, you're setting yourself up for failure. Same thing for me. Don't blindly trust me. Of course, I do my best to bring credible sources and facts and prove what I'm saying with sources as well. So I try to, I've never lied to any of you. If I made mistakes, I've also adhered to them. I try to build trust in that regard as well, but you should always do your own research anyways. And again, that's the problem here. People don't like shy, so they call in this whole, this whole thing like just FUD. It's just, it is what it is. We as investors have no authority over Kasplex, but we have the power to choose which smart contract we want to use. Exactly. That's the best way you could put it. We have no authority over Kasplex. We don't deserve it. We don't need an answer. We have no authority to demand an answer, but we have got the ability as investors to decide whether we want to use Kasplex or not. So it's in their interest, in a sense, to answer questions to incentivize us to believe in them. If they don't answer the questions, then we may not decide to use them. That's ultimately what I'm saying. I'm right now saying that I'm not sure about Kasplex. I don't think they're bad. I don't think there's anything wrong with them. I just think they're not ready yet. So if they launch the mainnet soon, the next week, let's just say, I'll be thinking maybe it's a bit preemptive, and I'm just going to watch and see how it goes. If everything's good, then I'll start investing into it and start using their layer 2 and their smart contract. But otherwise, then I'm just not going to get too involved just yet. And it'd be the same thing for Igra Labs as well. If they're doing things that, again, if they're doing things that Shah call out on as well, or things that are being called out on, and it doesn't seem to be a bit of lack of trust, I'll be like, okay, yeah, I'm just gonna wait, Sure, yeah, sure. Welcome back, Loudbird. You're doing very, very well. Mr. Miles is on his trolling stuff again. Hold up 1 second. I'd rather have sober analysis and saying that Kaspa's gonna exactly. I'm not gonna over a year now. I'd like to believe, if not close to a year now, have stopped. No, not been close to a year. Been probably like 6 months. Have stopped talking about Kaspa price predictions and price action, because what's the point of me throwing some high figure number about to just feed you FOMO? That's also probably not going to happen. I don't talk about price at all. I talk about developments, news, and I let you decide based on your own research and based on what I'm saying, what that could mean for the price of Kaspa and how good your investor could be there for. It's just me again, just bringing awareness to it. That's all. XRP has 60% allocation. Yeah, exactly. XRP. We know XRP is terrible. It's done very well, and it probably do very well. And then in the cycle as well, still to come with ETF finance coming out, but it can just dump it. You've seen the co-founder Chris Larson dump numerous times at the peak for XRP. So I need Kaspa Hopium daily. Well, hopefully now I'll be back to doing it daily again. I was meant to be going on a day trip to Paris actually for some other work thing on this Friday, but it moved to the Monday and I can't do the Monday, so actually I'm not doing that now. So I should be back to doing daily streams for the foreseeable future again, which is great. Finally, look forward to this now. But yeah, it's just an interesting time right now. That's what it is. A lot of very bullish fundamental developments that I'm very happy about. And Kaspa, again, got some business coming through and it looks very, very good. I think Kaspa's at a very, very prime spot. But the Kasplex thing is just something I want to raise awareness about. That's all. Not to FUD about it. I don't hate Kasplex. I have nothing against Kasplex. Nothing against people working for Kasplex either. Or Johnny. I have nothing against anybody. I'm an investor. And I believe in Kaspa. And I don't want to see anybody do Kaspa wrong. So with there being uncertainties around something and questions being asked, I would like an answer. If I don't get one, that's fine. It just means that therefore I'm not going to be as willing to invest into the ecosystem. That's all it is. I'm not being emotional about the matter. I'm thinking logically. That's how I perceive it. I'm thinking logically and not willing to put all my eggs in one basket going into the Kasplex if they haven't answered the question just yet. I mean, maybe, who knows? Mr. Miles. But I'm sure I don't think KS has any. I think he means well. I think KS, like many people in the community, just want smart contracts for Kaspa because they want Kaspa to start pumping in value. But maybe they haven't considered the negative repercussions that happens if the smart contracts aren't ready just yet. Maybe that's what it is. But KS is not someone who hates Kaspa. He's been about Kaspa for a while and he actually talks quite positively on it from what I've seen. But anyways, that being said though, family, I know it seemed like a bit of a negative stream today, but it's something that I think was worth talking about. And again, I'll post this information and the sources in my Discord community, my free server there. Ultimately though, in the grand scheme of things, I still think it's been a good stream with a lot of very big bullish fundamental developments coming out that could lead to an extended cycle as well. You've got the hopium here, you've got a bit of the FUD as well. It's a recipe for success at the end of the day, and this is how we grow more, learning more and more. Learning, knowledge is power. This is how you end up becoming a better investor as well. Don't bloody trust. Do your own research and trade at your own discretion. That being said, family, if you enjoyed the stream, leave a like, share with your friends, subscribe for more. If you want to tune into more discussions and just have a little chill chat and learn more about crypto, about Kaspa, so we can actively learn together, then check out my free Discord server on my homepage here, also in the description. And yeah, have a great day, family. Good evening and good night, and I will see you all in the next one. Take care now.